Well, hey everybody, I'm Jan Erickson from Stepping Aside, and welcome to Somewhat Daily Tarot and Rune for the first day of March 2021. Well, it's a Monday, first day of the month. I gotta pay bills today, the ones I haven't paid yet. You're probably just like me in that regard. It's like, oh God, here we go. Anyway, I started this once. I got about 4 minutes in, and it poofed out on me. So I'm not gonna do any different runes or anything. I'm just gonna stay with that. One thing I did want to mention is I have a link to. I think I've got a link to the post. I'll make sure I do underneath this video that talks about the Herbal Academy's Mastering Herbal Formulation class that's coming up. Registration ends on March 11th, so you have a little bit of time, but not much, to sign up for this great course. It's on sale, $50 off, and so I'm an affiliate for it. So if you sign up through a link in that blog post, if you sign up through that, then just know that I'm going to make a little bit of commission off of that sale. All of that goes to help. I've monetized the blog that way so that I can help offset all the blog costs I have, because believe it or not, it does cost money to run a blog. So that's kind of what that's all about. That's why I chose to do that. And I've tried to keep it just on my own interest. When I started out, I didn't so much, but now I've narrowed it all down to just herbalism and yoga and things like that, different stuff like that. So anyway, check that out if you're interested. I'm taking it. I signed up for it. Actually, I signed up for it yesterday or day before. And I've already had that training, but I like this school, and I want to see what their perspective is on some of it. So, because some schools emphasize, different things more so than other things. And so the one I learned through, I just, I loved it, but I just want to get a little different perspective. So, I've signed up for it, so let's take it together. Anyway, I just love herbs, and I always have. So anything herbal, that's why I became an herbalist. So anyway, let me move my keyboard out of the way. Hagalaz is our rune for today. It's the 9th rune of the Elder Futhark. It's a Norn rune, one of 3. And it's the witch rune. It represents destruction within an established framework. So if you think a spell, when a witch works a spell, that's really what you're doing. You're using the container of the circle or the sacred space, or maybe you're doing an herb spell, and so you've got a container-like situation going, either a bowl or a cauldron or something like that. So it's the idea of effecting change within established boundaries so that you're not throwing out the baby with the bathwater, in other words. So anyhow, there's that. And then we have a little bit of scattered little girl energy today. Fortunate, but not too fortunate. But at the same time, it's positive. So energies could be scattered, but it's because you're excited about things, or maybe you're starting something new today. That seemed to be the theme in the esoteric influences for the week. A lot of new beginnings. We had a new beginning yesterday, a 1 energy for Sunday, and we have 1 again today. So lots of new beginnings with throughout the week where we're going on maybe a new path, or perceptions have changed, or you're starting new projects or something like that. So that's what you're looking at with the esoteric influences. Those have posted on the blog, both in post form and also in video form on the side panel. So check that out if you haven't already. But let's go ahead and get started here. I'm going to go ahead and shuffle here. I will keep track of the reading today for Thursday's reading to see if there's, again, any kind of continuation. Lately, it's been like that, where we start something on Monday that we get a little bit more information about. Now, good Lord, am I going to even be able to shuffle? But anyway, we get a little more information about it on Thursday. So anyhow, we'll see if my hands work this morning. I don't know. You just never know. So I hope if you've been able to get your vaccine that you've done so. I think that my husband can do that now, but I don't think there are any appointments available. He could go to the VA, though, and get it, I guess. But I don't think I can, because I'm not a veteran. I'm just a spouse. So I have to get mine locally. So I think that's what he's going to do. I can't get mine until like I think beginning March 29th is when they're targeting my age group, because I'm like a little over, well, not quite 4 years younger than my husband. And so I'm in I'm 63, so I'm not in the 65 and older age group, you know. Why didn't they just do 60 and above, you know, and call it good? But no, they had to complicate my life. And so anyway, we're going to go and have it done together, so we'll see how that goes. I don't know. We'll see. But as soon as we can, we're going to get one. We got our new face shields on the weekend. They came. They're the glasses type versus the band around the head type. And so when we go out today to get our chicken manure, we're going to try out our new face shields. We have our dual masks. We did that. So we're following CDC guidelines, and even though, you know, things are doing a little bit better in our state, we're not out of the woods yet, not in terms of those variants that are out there. So we don't know. I would rather, you know, take precautions than not. So anyhow, we're still doing that. So I hope y'all are too. But let's go ahead and look at the cards. I think that's enough shuffling. We'll see what we have. Oh, well, you know, last week, I believe, weren't we dealing with issues of authority? Let me look. Yeah, how we express authority. Again, I think that we're going to be looking at it the same way now, maybe this week. So maybe we're still dealing with that. We have the King of Swords. And then we have two major cards. We have the Chariot and the Lovers. So I think that we're going to look upon the major cards, the major arcana cards, as soul archetype cards that will then inform the king about how he should be expressing authority in his life. Now, last time we had the King of Swords, I believe, as a... You see, that was on Thursday. It was odd. We had the King of Wands on Monday. We had the King of Pentacles in the main reading, the three card part of it, on Thursday. And then I took a fourth card on Thursday, and it was the King of Swords. And so here we have a king that's a little bit deceptive. You see the clouds in the background are dark. You've got Hugin and Moonin up there, if you want to think of this guy as Odin. You've got Odin's ravens up there. We'll interpret it that way. You see butterflies and moons there on the back of his throne. He's holding a sword in his right hand and his power hand, but it's askew. It's kind of bent a little, or angled a little, not bent, but angled. It's not straight up and down. So with the dark clouds out there, and with the two ravens flying, thought and memory, rumor has it he would send them out for little, whatever they were. I don't necessarily think they were ravens, but whatever they were, he'd send them out. Because I don't think Odin's who we think he is. But anyway, he'd send them out, right, to gather information, okay? And so the swords is the air element. And so, I mean, whether you're talking about somebody who's in a position of authority, whether it's a man or a woman, it really doesn't matter. We all have masculine and feminine polarity within, right? And for some of us, if we're born under fire signs, then or type of masculine-oriented signs, Libra is, you can have issue. I'm a Libra, and you can have an issue of how you assert yourself. And especially when you're asserting yourself with some authority. Are you going to do that in a respectful manner? Are you going to do it in a really aggressive manner? So you've got kind of a wide gamut there that you can think about when you're deciding how you're going to do that. And realistically, this king is not the most honest. All right. He's analytical, so he's going to think about stuff, how to do things, and reason out. He's logical. He's clever. He's clearly the boss. But unlike the Queen of Swords, where her sword is straight up, she doesn't take crap off anybody, and she cuts through the nonsense. She cuts through the lies, typically from the king. So issues of authority then. Are you going to express your authority, whether you're a supervisor or someone in charge of other people or not? We have our own inner authority. Are you going to express that today in balance of knowing when to take control and when to be and when to just sort of sit there and do nothing? When to allow, basically? Or I should say, instead of it's not an either or like it was last week, are you going to do it in balanced polarity? But this isn't as balanced as you think, because look at where the mountain is pointed at. It's sort of leaning in Eve's direction, isn't it? In the woman's direction. You see Adam and Eve depicted here. You see the tree of life behind Eve. You see the serpent coiled around, giving her the knowledge. You see Adam, he's, well, I'll go back to Eve. Eve is looking at the angel above, isn't she, for guidance. So in other words, she's taking her guidance from spirit. You see the sun up above. That's the cosmic rays coming in. The source presence, the source energy coming in and enlightening their path. Challenges for sure with that mountain there, but the challenges, if you think of Adam and Eve in terms of Eve with a receptive or allowing presence or a drawing in presence, and then Adam with the more projective presence, then you can see where challenges can be best faced by not necessarily an aggressive approach. But look at where he's looking. He's looking at her. He's not looking he's not getting guidance from spirit, is he? He's getting guidance from his wife. In much the same way the relationship is with between the king and queen of swords. She demands justice, she demands truth, she demands honesty. And he's like, yeah, maybe. But here you're talking about polarity with both cards, aren't you? Issues of balance. With the lovers, it's in terms of our relationships with one another, remaining in balance together, but with it being a little bit more angled to the receptive side of self, to the feminine side of self. So where the true wisdom lies, and where the woman is capable of seeing the bigger picture, whereas the man forges ahead. So he's got to have some kind of situation there. It's like when the Druids would go off to war, or the Celts at the time would go off to war. There's, in fact, Julius Caesar even talked about this, where the witches would give them guidance as far as what the moon energies are, what the planetary energies are. And they would make decisions about when to go and when not to go. If the moon favored an attack, then they would attack. But he noticed that it was through the guidance of these women that the warriors would then act or not. It would govern what they would do. And so you really, I think it sort of it implies the notion that the receptive presence allows for all truth to be there, and even the stuff that maybe isn't relevant, but you never know, it could be at some point. But the woman generally sees the bigger picture. So the feminine side of self sees the bigger picture. Generally has to, because traditionally the women were the ones that took care of the kids and took care of home and hearth. They needed to see all that was needed for that to happen, and then they conveyed that to their husbands, who then went out and did what they needed to do, right? And so there's certainly reciprocity within the relationship there. The same here is with the Chariot. This is about movement and mastery. You see the king in the chariot, but he doesn't have the reins, does he? Everything is at rest right now. Everything is in balance. You see right here, you see the shield with the dreidel on it. It's right up and down. It's not over on one side. And you see the winged sun right above it. So we're talking about healing that polarity within and maintaining some kind of balance and integrity. He holds a scepter in his right hand. Our left, his right. You see the balance here between the two types of tower-like buildings. So there's balance there. You see the two wheels also balance. You see the two sphinxes, or his two little lions there. The two little critters that pull they're lions that pull the chariot for him. They're sitting there, but you see dark and light. So this is the feminine, this is the masculine. In terms of polarity, in terms of electricity, this would be the negative, this would be the positive. In terms of auras, you would be thinking a push aura versus a drawing in aura. And yes, our auras are defined that way. My husband has a push aura, I have a receptive aura. And so as an empath, I've said this many times here, if I'm in the chair sitting down and he's standing up and he's telling me about something, maybe he's irritated about something he saw on TV or whatever, on the news or something, or he's got some frustrations going on outside on the property or something with what he's doing. If he stands up and leans in to talk to me, I'm like, because I feel that his aura pushing on me. He projects that energy on me. And so he has to be very mindful. He can sometimes get the context clue of me doing this, and he'll back up, right? He'll stand straight, he'll get straight, he'll, instead of leaning forward, I'll say, stop leaning, maybe I have to say that. And that's his cue that his energy is just a little too strong for me right then, and I can't deal with it. So what we're really talking about here is how do we express that inner authority with integrity today? So last week it was, we were really more looking at harmony on Monday versus authoritarianism. So moving forward in shared purpose and shared direction, the sharing part being the operative word, versus somebody coming in and being dictatorial about things, understanding that we're in it together, in other words, having the inner authority to be able to do that as well. And then on Thursday, though, it shifted more to, with the King of Pentacles, with indifference. Are you expressing an indifference when you should be expressing something else, right? Something a little more direct. And honesty was involved with the King. And apparently, honesty and integrity in terms of who we are and how we express the inner authority in our lives is still part of what we're talking about right now. Well, that's interesting. I've not had readings. Well, we just started doing it this way, so I really shouldn't say, oh, well, I've never had a reading that does this, because it's new, so how would I know? Anyway, but yeah, I mean, we've got a 7 energy for the Chariot, a 6, so 13, so 4. So overall, there's a 4 energy. So again, foundation and structure and practicality and pragmatism, grounding. Maybe grounding is really the key word. That would be, especially with swords being the element, we need to be a little more realistic and more grounded in the effect of what we do and how we express our authority. Here, with understanding that integrity and honesty is what's necessary. If we don't have that, then, if we, in other words, we just came out of a period, a 4-year period, where we had a president who lied to everybody all the time, every day. Well, I mean, what did they come up with? They were keeping track of it. It was like over 30,000 lies or something that he told the whole time he was there. So consequently, he got a lot of people who supported him believing all sorts of things about this most recent election that simply it's just none of it's true, culminating in an attack on the Capitol on January 6th. So you can see how a lack of integrity with a person in authority who can't look you in the eye, who can't tell you the truth, who lies every step of the way, what that can then impact, right? People died, what is it over? What did they got over 280 people that have been indicted? A lot of them are in jail waiting to go to their trial because they don't want them out in the world. Some of which were let loose or almost let loose, and then a judge in D.C. stepped in and said, no. Bring them here now. They're going to sit in jail, right? Well, insurrection is a bad thing. It's illegal. You can't do it. What this means for lawmakers, that if there were lawmakers involved in this, and unfortunately there are claims that they were, if that's true, that's not going to do well for them at all. I know they think that they were doing something noble or whatever, or self-serving, but it's in truth, it was all only self-serving. But who did it serve? This guy. All right? It won't serve any of them. And some of them that are sitting in jail right now, they're beginning to understand that one of them said they were groomed, one of them said that they were duped. All of that's true. You were. So it may be part of what we're also thinking about today is in terms of issues of authority in truth, is how do you discern properly when something is true and when it isn't? Because I, for one, don't understand how anyone could have supported this guy. I mean, I knew who he was, so there's no way I was going to do that. What is it that shifted to make them not do their own homework on him, so that they could then see what, weigh out what their research says versus the kinds of stuff he's saying and the way he's behaving? How could they not see the difficulty there? And yet they didn't. So I think that some of that may be, how do you discern and understand when you're being lied to as well? So I don't know. This could kind of go both ways today. But realistically, what I think that we have to do is listen more. And on the receptive side of things, allow and listen more, and not get into it and start asserting your own opinion when maybe you don't have all the facts. Making a choice to support something when you don't have the facts. And when the facts do not even remotely align with what's being said or presented. So I think that we'll keep track of this, and we'll also kind of see if Thursday's reading also is part of last week as well. But I really think that maybe last week was about, even though it was about how we express authority, I think maybe we're getting down to the more detailed aspect of it. And the one thing that has to be there is honesty. And I know, like I say, over the last 4 years, we haven't had any. We've just been manipulated and lied to. And it's like ignore the man behind the curtain kind of experience. And so I think that affected a lot of people. And unfortunately, it's going to have an effect on some of his supporters in ways that they couldn't have dreamed possible. And that's unfortunate, but they're just going to have to deal with it, I guess. The choices that they made were their own. Nobody twisted their arms to do any of this stuff, but yet they did. But again, we have to talk about integrity. We have to talk about honesty, in our relationships with other people, in our interactions with other people, whether it's on a personal level or community or job or wherever it is. We have to have integrity in what we do. And we're either going to, one other aspect about the King of Swords is the rule of law. We either believe in that or we don't. And I think there's an awful lot of people that give lip service to it and they don't believe anything about it. The rule of law is fine as long as it protects them. But if they want to go do something that's outside of that, that's okay too for them. You see, that's how they see it. And it's very bizarre. So we all have to, I think, be thinking going forward, not only about what happened and trying to understand it in terms of how authority was just, expressed with zero integrity at all. And what is that going to look like going forward? And how do we express it in our lives as well? So with Hagalaz today, the idea is to break down perceptions that no longer serve in a very real sense. And with the King of Swords, perhaps how we express authority is based on faulty perception. So, you still have your own inner authority, whether you're in charge of anybody else or not. You still have that. So be aware of what that is and make the changes that you need to make. Keep your focus a little more centered. Be aware that it might be kind of flighty today. But other than that, stay focused, stay honest, have integrity when you speak, have integrity when you in your interactions with other people. Know when to take control and when to allow, and let your polarity kind of bend a little bit more toward the receptive side. It doesn't mean you're going to be a doormat. It just means you're going to listen first before acting. So anyhow, I guess that's it. We'll talk again Thursday. Thanks so much for stopping by. Again, check out the blog. I write over on Patreon. If you want to become a Patreon subscriber, that's $1 a month. If you'd like to do that, that'd be lovely. I also write over on Medium. Look over there and see. You can pay attention to that stuff too if you want to. I usually do a rune divination. I'm going to talk a little bit about that whole odal business that was over at CPAC. That's nuts. Okay, that's a Nazi symbol. They took Othala and they added some feet to it, or wings to it. Little serifs is what they're called. And they corrupted that rune to the point that it's not even recognizable in terms of how they saw it. They look at it likely as the fatherland, but it's really ancestral heritage and legacy and tradition and all of that. It's a very spiritual rune. It's the 24th rune of the Elder Futhark. How they could do that, and then how they could make a stage out of it. Well, again, pay attention. Pay attention. That's a little more than what it looks like. And I'll just leave that there. But I might talk a little bit about that in today's rune divination over on Medium. So watch for that, as well as the magical forecast to go up on the blog here. And we'll check in again on Thursday. So wear a mask if you go out around anyone at all. 2, if you can. Whether you're inside or out, you still need to be protected, and you need to protect other people. So that said, be good to yourself, be good to one another, and blessed be.